Hello, I'm Marcus Potg of Geeks. You join us for a review of Gathering Storm Part 3, which I finally got around to doing. So, Rise of the Primarch. So I do the 3 books, same sort of format. We start with Story, an Age of Legends. And there's some cool pictures. A little bit about what happened in the previous 2 books, and then we're straight into chapter 1, A Realm of War. So this follows on from the first 2 books, so if you've not watched those 2 videos, go and watch them. It's full of spoilers. This will be full of spoilers. So, starts basically Ultramar's under attack, the whole set of sectors being attacked by Iron Warriors and Emperor's Children and I can't remember who else attacking them. Bunch of bad guys. Heretics. Pushing them back. The planet that our host of Elder and Imperial dudes isn't actually Macragge itself. It's one of the outer systems. So, as they explain, wouldn't have been more perturbed if they had a gate straight to Macragge. Would have been more worrying if the Elder had been able to teleport there all along. They then need to make their way to the Ultramarines, who are a bit suspicious, but they've been attacked by Chaos at the time. And with the retinue, there are a couple of knights from House Tartarus who are shooting down hell drakes and everything, and sort of like
trying to assist, kind of.
Trying to assist.
We're the good guys.
So the Ultramarines are quite sort of like, they believe, even though there's Elder with them, this host kind of they're good guys, so they'll listen to them. So basically, only the Viziarch and Yvain, obviously with the Avatar nearby, go with the Imperial guys. The rest of the Elder turn around, go back through the webway. They're on their own missions. So it's just those 2 really in the story. We have basically a bunch of the Imperial guys staying behind, and the force is being split up because the Ultramarines basically send about 2 or 3 Storm Ravens to pick them up, so that's the extent of what they have with them, really. Not a lot of guys.
No.
So, through the flames, this first whole part is about them linking up to Macragge, which is under assault itself. Even the heart of the Ultramar segmentum is under assault. This dude, Tigris, I can't remember his name. Is it Tigris? He's got a name like that. I can never remember the names of any characters. On the planet is the Grey Knight guy.
Voldar.
You're as good as I am today.
Voltron.
Remember the names. Voltron. Biopowers combined. No.
Voldus,
yeah.
Yeah, Grandmaster Voldus.
He's on the planet. There is a nice little explanation about who he is and why he's there. He was made Grandmaster by Drago himself, while Drago was experiencing one of these actual 10 minutes or so he has in the real world before being sped off back to the warp by demons and fate and whatever else. And in that time, Drago saw how brave he was and made him Grandmaster of the 3rd.
What happened to the other one?
He died.
Right, okay, so yeah.
In the same battle. So
fair enough.
Drago promoted him immediately. There you go, Grandmaster. Well, yeah, kind of thing. Because he's a very powerful psychic. So that was Drago's reasoning. Plus he had about 10 minutes to pick somebody up, I suppose. So he's like, you, bye. So he's there. The bunch of the Ultramarines are all defending the Citadel and stuff like that. The Elder and the Imperial make it. Belisarius is there. Greyfax and Celestine are all there. They make it to the Ultramarines command base, which is surprising that they would let them go there anyway.
Yeah.
But Marneus Calgar allows them to come in and speak to them because they said they want to speak to the Lord of Ultramar. And he is Lord of Ultramar, technically, at that point in time. And Belisarius says that that's who his secret box of tricks is for, that he's got with him, this magic box he's been carrying around with him.
Alright.
Mystery magic box, big question mark on it. And what's in the box? He's been carrying that around with him all this time, and it's for the Lord of Ultramar. So they all turn up. Belisarius is like looking at him, he's looking at him, and he's going, I don't know who you are. And Belisarius goes, no, I want to speak to the Lord of Ultramar. We're like, I am the Lord of Ultramar. No. I don't know who you are.
You're really not?
No, I want to speak to Reboot. So they're all like, well, what's going on here? And they're all dead set against it, apart from our librarian friend here. He basically says that he's seen a vision of that these like eagles coming through the storm, and it's this great catastrophe that's happened to Ultramar. And he thought that the invasion was that, but he's now realised it with the turning up of the Celestine and everybody else. It's actually this that he's foreseen, and they need to go before Potg. So they are taken before him. There's a lot going on, there's a battle going on. But obviously, we can see the Primarch here. This is actually just a bit about the Primarch. There's quite a few little bits in this where it just goes back and tells you things that you might not know if you're new to it, which is quite good. It's good to have a refresh as well. So they go to the centre of the citadel, basically, where Reboot is in his stasis field. So the description of this is when they walk in, he's sort of like sat down on the chair, I think he's hunched over a little bit. Across his legs, he's got the Emperor's sword already.
Right.
So that's where he gets that from. He's already got it. He's in a stasis field with his wounds, sort of like keeping him from regenerating or whatever else. Because one of the things about this was he was slowly regenerating in stasis, but that doesn't appear to have been a thing. That was a rumour. Like a lot of things about Reboot, a lot of it seems to be rumour, and because we're talking about a 9,000-year-old sort of Primarch with 9,000-year-old stories, and what he thinks of the Imperium when he comes back, you can see that maybe the stories of Reboot himself may have been exaggerated or changed, or how we, because we never really thought much of him personally as a Primarch. And this one thing about this book is it really does make me think he's cool. Actually, I quite like this guy. He's got a lot of humanity compared to a lot of other Primarchs. So he's in his interment. The first company go down with him because they don't trust these newcomers. There's a bunch of Ultramarines already down there. They're standing before the Primarch, Marnus Calgar's there. And basically Belisarius says that Reboot commissioned him to build this. It is for him and it can only be delivered to him, and they've brought it there so it can be basically attached to him. And they're like, but why have you brought the Elder with you? And she explains who she is basically and what she does, and basically that she needs to kill him, and then they can
bring him back,
which obviously goes down well.
Yeah, I'm just going to kill your Primarch that you've been keeping alive for thousands of years.
Absolute uproar going on between everybody. The chief librarian's on their side because he's foreseen parts of this and he feels that this is the right thing to do. Kargar's dead set against it, but the decider comes when the roof caves in and a bunch of Chaos drop pods come flying through because they managed to breach the main citadel. Basically the Black Legion turn up in force. Baden's not with them, these are his lieutenants. He sent them onwards. Baden's not even in this book really. He's not there at all, so I was quite surprised because I expected him to turn up. But it doesn't. Baden's not in this. So it's just his lieutenants and a bunch of other guys. Massive battle erupts, obviously, in the Inner Sanctum. Belisarius and Yvain use the confusion to activate the device, which basically crawls over the stasis pod. I think it's her that cuts it actually. I can't remember whether it's the Viziarch or her. One of them cuts the cables to the stasis thing. So that goes off, the shielding's gone straight away. And Kargar's going, what are you doing? Kind of getting really mad but trying to fight off the chaos interlopers, and between them is the chief librarian who's not letting anybody near the the other guys. He wants it all to happen. So this thing sort of like spiders up. I imagine it like a dune crawler in my head when I was reading it. Sort of like starts turning into a spider, going over the top of him, and then closing around him.
Right.
Like some weird device, like a reverse drop pod or something, just crunk around him, and then little red lightning just beeping away. The fight's going on. The Ultramarines are going, what the heck's going on here? What's going on with the Primarch? There's a big battle. Don't want to go through every single point of it. Plus, I can't remember a few of it because it was a little while since I read this. But basically, the light goes to green. It's like your Primarch is ready, ding, and then it opens up and he steps out. And even though he's been asleep for 9,000 years, and he doesn't really know what's going on, and he doesn't really recognise the Chaos Space Marines because they're that mutated now, beyond anything he's seen. He does recognise them as heretics, and he can sense the evil in them. And he sees Celestine flying around, and this is new to him as well, obviously.
Well, yeah.
But he doesn't sense any evil from her. And sort of that sense immediately triggers that who's good and who's evil. He knows straight away. There's like no moments of confusion, and off he goes. Just the Ultramarines being pushed right back to his chair and his shrine, basically. And he just sallies forth and rips them apart like an unstoppable juggernaut. Off he goes, Emperor's sword glowing away, even though it was dull a few minutes earlier. And off he goes, just absolutely slaughtering everybody. I think the first one to attack him to call him Berserker, just like comes running towards, just dead. Plus he's got this Fist of Doom, which is basically a massive power fist with a huge bolter underneath it. And he's just blasting away at things, then swiping with his sword, and nothing's really bothering him. And that's pretty much a picture that sums up the battle. And that's it. That's basically what goes on. They win. The Ultramarines obviously win. And he is, there we go, being crowned by Celestine.
I think that's an awesome...
Yeah.
It's an awesome picture, that.
Celestine's crowning him, Greyfax is reading off a thing, Belisaris is at the side of him, and the Ultramarines are all watching. So basically he goes through the entire formal thing. He doesn't just take command officially, because Calgar's wounded during the process, but not killed. He makes sure he's alright, and Calgar hands over command officially, using all the pomp and circumstance that you've got, to officially make him the Lord of Ultramar again, and in command of the Space Marines. He doesn't just take it off them and assume command. He goes through the protocols. It's quite nice, the way it's laid out.
Yeah.
I can't remember which bit of it Yvain sort of warns him never to remove his suit. Because basically what this suit is a massive life support system. So God knows what was going on underneath that thing, and how much of the Primarch is left, and what's robotic and what isn't. And he's got this constant hunger inside him.
Right.
That he can't quite... He's always hungering for something. And that's probably the souls that... Either his soul or whatever Yvain did to him to make him what he is and bring him back.
Right, so it just wasn't just the suit that
it wasn't
brought
just
him
the
back,
suit,
it was her
as well. She basically did something. It doesn't say what she did, but she's the one that says never remove your suit or you'll die.
Okay.
So he takes command, and they eventually, I think it was about a month of fighting or something, they actually wipe the Chaos guys completely from the surface of the planet. There's a lot of talk on what he's going to do next. And now we have Dark Revelations. Battle for Macragge, that's the bit. And the Crown of Glories. Wars and Ultima. Yeah, so from Macragge itself, he goes out to the rest of the system. Macragge or Macragge, you can never remember which one it is. But from the Ultramarines homeworld, he goes out and reconquers the rest of the system. And there's lots of battles that go on. It doesn't go into in-depth battles, other than the one in the Sanctum and a couple later on. There's not as many battles as in the first two books. Which is probably a good thing, because we're battle after battle after battle after battle, which was good, but it was a lot to take in. In this one though, he's going around and he's got the triumvirate of his
Yenade.
Yeah, Yenade they leave at some point to go off and do their own thing.
Right.
But he has the triumvirate from the first. Belsaris and Greyfax.
And
he's also got Voldor.
Is it the triumvirate of the Imperium?
Yeah, the triumvirate of the Imperium, and he's got the Grey Knight guy with him through most of this. Mm-hmm. Cypher doesn't turn up to the lair.
Okay.
So they're retaking the system. One of the good things in this, I remember, was basically this sorrow. I'm just finding it with the sorrow. Oh, there it is. Right on the other page. The sorrow. So the sorrow was basically on the Imperial worlds, it was called the weeping disease. Right. So people just started crying, and their eyes became infected. They became red and they became blind. All these people, Imperial Guardsmen, normal humans, didn't seem to affect Space Marine. Or certain other people that are blessed, like it didn't affect Celestine. So Gilliman goes to investigate, and as he turns up, all these people that are blind can suddenly see again, and they can see him, and they're cured.
Okay.
So he's like, oh. So it's like, now all these preachers are hailing his divinity, all the people that were undecided on whether the Primarch was divine or not. So he's divine because he can cure just by being in the presence. You know, he's got this divine ability. So he's wandering around this planet, just curing people just by walking around the planet and being cured. A bit like we did in Pandemic Legacy.
Yes!
Near the beginning.
You're cured!
You're cured! Like that. He's just doing that. And then, as he's going around, it's really suspicious, obviously. As he's going around, then the first camps he went to, and he's been away from the longest, start to be re-inhabited by these illness again. Right. And start crying again. And it turns out there's all these little mites that are crawling into people's eyes. Mm. And wherever he's going, they're dying off. But when he's been away for a while, they're coming back. So he goes back. It's like he's going to be caught in this constant loop. Yeah. At which point the Grey Knight contacts him and says, "Look, this is a trap. It's a trick. You're not doing this. You're not healing them." Mm. He senses that Nurgle is doing it. And as Robert Gilliman approaches an area which is infected, Nurgle takes away his gifts, kills off his bacteria. Right. So they think it's him that's doing it. So basically, Nurgle's trying to trick him, just staying on these planets and just wandering around and not actually any reconquest or anything. Nurgle's just trying to make him buy time, if you will, because that's what Nurgle's like. He's having a good joke about this. So Robert has to leave. He has to leave people to their fate and just go back and retake the world he can. After this, he kind of realises that he cannot free his entire all of Ultramar. Mm-hmm. He cannot just look after himself. And he realises that he has to look after his father's empire. Yeah. Not just his own little piece of it, the whole thing. So he basically starts a crusade force off. He gets as many marines and ships as he can and sets off on a crusade to Terra. Right. But the Astronomicon isn't working because the maelstrom and the Terra are expanding. So they're pretty much going out there and trying to navigate through bit by bit.
Yeah, going out on a limb a little bit, yeah. So
this is where most of the Crusade fleet, I'm not going to spoil every single little fight, but it's a trap. The first person he encounters is Magnus, in Magnus's massive flying pyramid and fleet. And Magnus basically shoots him a bit, and then he shoots back, and then Magnus basically teleports him into the middle of the Eye of Terror and the entire fleet. It's Magnus's plan just to wear them down, basically. So they're basically going through a set of trials and sort of like a gauntlet that he's built up across the entire Eye. So by the time they get to the end, there's only a few of them left, and Magnus is just coming and go squish. Mm. That's what they think he's up to, anyway. As with Magnus, it's never that straightforward. Mm. But that's what he's done. And this is where Cypher comes into, because at one point they're captured and taken to a Blackstone Fortress, which must be the last Blackstone Fortress remaining, but it's under the control of the Red Corsairs and a bunch of Tzeentch demons. So they're all captured and taken back there, literally. They're all in prison. Mm-hmm. Their weapons taken off them, interred. The ships are sort of like taken off them. Everything they've lost. Right. And they're going to be put in this prison. And Tzeentch has decided he's too valuable just to kill him. He's a great pawn that he can either corrupt or use later or something. So he just wants him out of the way for now while he goes about doing whatever he's doing. Anyway, Cypher and a bunch of Elder turn up. The important thing here is a bunch of Elder turn up, because this makes no sense to me when you read the book. Why the Elder would need Cypher at all. Because literally Cypher turns up. This is a bit about Red Corsairs. Yeah, he turns up, knocks a guard out, takes the guard's key, and opens the cell. Only after Gilliman has promised to take him before the throne.
To see the Emperor.
To see the Emperor. He won't even let him out before this. And the Elder could have easily opened these. The Elder have helped Cypher get in this place. Cypher hasn't got into this place. The Elder have.
Right.
And the Elder have killed a bunch of guards and stuff. And let Cypher open and bargain with Gilliman. And then help them to escape. So there's a big battle of them escaping. The corridors inside the Blackstone are huge. Even the tanks and stuff can drive through corridors. There's corridors big enough for a Titan to walk through, basically. So the battle's going through there. At this point, it looks like they might not escape, but as ever, Chaos is jealous of each other. And at this point, where are we up to? Yeah, there we go. At this point, basically, Khorne turns up, says, "No, you're not having the prize, I am." And Scarbrand basically is a massive comet in the sky and just smashes into the Blackstone Fortress. And all these Khorne demons start fighting the Tzeentch demons, and off they go. And they manage to make it out into the webway, because of the webway at the centre of the Blackstone Fortress, which makes them even more curious as to who built them. So
it's a bit worrying.
So they're in the webway, again, much like they were in the previous books, running through the webway. The Legion of the Damned turn up as well. They help out to help them escape. They're cool again. Still don't know who they are. I'm not sure that they are who they're rumoured to be. I've always suspected that the Marines that were killed on Istavan, 3 or 5, because the betrayal was so bad, their souls were cast into the warp, but instead of being consumed, they became a legion themselves and help out where they can. That's how I've always imagined them.
That sounds cool.
But they're meant to be fire wasps. I can't remember. They're meant to be that legion that was just that chapter which was destroyed. There's Scarbrand and Gilliman having a fight. An unfortunate bit just before this was that the High Marshal, who's been with them the whole way, and he was made, a bunch of other Black Templars turned up, and he was made the Emperor's champion and everything. There was a big ceremony. It was cool. Basically, as soon as Scarbrand turns up, he literally just squishes him. You don't even see the fight. Basically, we know he's over there, we know Scarbrand's over there. Next thing, Scarbrand's leaping through there with the Emperor's champion's sword stuck in him. So we only assume that we never see any more Black Templars after that either. So we only assume that he killed them all.
Killed them all.
But he fights Gilliman, and Gilliman wins.
So squishes him instead.
Yeah. But there's a cool bit where they're actually fighting in Gilliman's mind as well, because Gilliman's getting really angry when he's fighting Scarbrand. It's like most people run in terror, but his reaction is to get angry. Okay. It's like the fury of Khorne itself infecting him. Right. And he sees fire all around him, which isn't there, and it's like it's going into his mind. And the thing before this is Tzeentch did exactly the same thing. He bound him with chains. This is how he was able to capture him. He bound him with chains of his own consciousness. Because since they entered the warp, Tzeentch was putting things like pride and everything else, all his little flaws, and infecting his mind with these sort of like traps. Right. So in the end, he could turn them into chains, and that's how he managed to capture him. So again, the battle was not just a physical battle; it's a mental battle
as well,
which he lost against Tzeentch because he was captured. But he manages to win against Scarbrand and Khorne, and that part of it. So into the labyrinth they go. Thousand Sons chase them down because Magnus is chasing them now. This is the point where they realise they think Magnus had just weakened him enough so they can kill him. But Magnus is not really wanting that, and Gilliman realises that Magnus's real plan is to follow them because their destination's Terror.
Right.
And they're like, well, because Gilliman knows where the secret gate is. But then so does Magnus. But Magnus can't open it.
Gilliman can.
Yeah.
Ah.
Or at least the powers on the other side will open it for Gilliman, even though they won't open it for Magnus. Or at least he hopes they'll open it. So he realises he can't go to Earth. But the Elder know of another route. So they basically take him to the moon. There is a warp gate on Luna. another place where the Elder have stuck in Potg on the moon itself. So we end up with a battle on the moon, basically, which this next bit really depicts, because you've got the survivors, Skitarii and Ultramarines and the Triumvirate, and the Thousand Sons are pouring out of the gate after them. Magnus comes out of the gate after them. There's ships in orbit around Luna because it's basically a junkyard. It's where they've got all the decommissioned ships.
Mm-hmm.
So you've got the surface of the moon, but there's no air as well. So the Skitarii are actually dying on the surface of the moon because it says like they're freezing. You can see the human parts going black where they're frozen.
Mm.
So they're dying slowly on the moon anyway. The Space Marines are fine, obviously. Even Greyfax has got like a helmet. It doesn't seem to affect Celestine, and
yeah, well, she's
Belzaris isn't bothered by it either. He must have some personal force field amongst his kit. But he starts communicating with Belzaris with the defence forces, because they're packed with defence forces. So as soon as they blip onto the moon, the defence forces are like, "What's that?" And so obviously the Custodes and then the Sisters of Silence are on their way at full speed.
Mm-hmm.
So Magnus doesn't have much time. Fight erupts between him and his brother. The Elder trick Magnus back into the warp gate. So there's a massive fight, and at one point Magnus throws a spaceship onto Gilliman. So that's how serious this fight's gone. It's not just, and Gilliman survives. He described like the servos in his suits are whining, and he feels parts of him have been damaged somehow, but he still keeps fighting. He pushes the spaceship off him, and then, as his brother, basically the Sisters of Silence jump down around him and start to nullify Magnus's powers, which is his advantage. Yeah. So at that point, the fight is not going to go his way. So they push them back into the gate. The Eldar have timed it so they can trap Magnus. So they're talking to Gilliman and saying, we need to push him in this exact moment and we'll destroy the gate. So he'll be trapped forever.
Oh.
Well, they tell Gilliman he'll be killed.
Right.
But I don't know whether he's trapped or killed or whether they've got something else they've captured him with. It never actually says what Magnus's fate is.
He's got something else up the sleeve.
Yeah, but they blow the gate up just as Magnus goes into it. Magnus disappears. And then all of his forces are just trapped and annihilated, basically. I think that's the last battle in the book. And so it tells you a little bit about other things. Then we head to Earth, and this is where we see, even though everything he's been through and everything he's seen so far, I think it's a shock of seeing Earth, and it's basically become an overgrown Gothic cathedral for a religion which shouldn't exist to a man that never wanted to be a god, as he describes it.
So it's basically a bit like Logar, what Logar did.
Yeah.
Made him into a god and
so
everything.
So the Imperium's done it. It's made the Emperor into a god, and basically the Primarchs into saints, or disciples, or sons of God.
Yeah.
It's basically done that, the Imperium. And Gilliman's like, he's totally disgusted and can't believe it. He hides it though. He doesn't show any of this because he's being diplomatic and he knows how to be. So he doesn't go, "What have we done?" He starts smashing things like Angron or Mortarion would even do, or any of them. Even Vulcan might get really annoyed and start smashing things, because he'd be like.
He's just like trying to keep it in check. He
keeps it in check. He seems. A lot of the things in this really sort of think he's actually a really good guy. He's probably the most human of the Primarchs. You're like, actually, you can begin to understand him a bit more. But it takes days to travel to the throne, by the way, and they're going through these processions, and there's people like saying hymns and shouting at them, and it's like a triumvirate itself, of ancient Rome, but taking days and days and days to go through because there's that many people, and he sees all the people coming out of the slums and they've not got legs and they're crawling on the ground, and he's like, what has become of the Imperium? He is totally shocked.
It's obviously not what they wanted, kind of thing.
See, this is a good picture where we've got like a triumvirate gate and stuff like that. So you can see it's marching. They're marching through now. Small they are there. Cool. So Gilliman asks permission to see the Emperor from the Custodes. Doesn't try and barge in. Again, he's quite formal about it. The Custodes say that only he may enter. So as I said earlier, there's an important thing here because he promised Cypher that Cypher could go in, so Cypher starts to bristle at this. So do the rest of the Fallen, because there's a bunch of Fallen with him as well.
Right.
Don't know where they picked them up from, but there's a bunch of Fallen. I mean, the models of them look cool.
Mm.
So Gilliman thinks about it for like a nanosecond or whatever, and he basically looks at Cypher, and he looks at Cypher's sword, and he's like, he can't let Cypher go in front of the Emperor with that sword. That is basically the thought he has. With that sword. So what the heck is that sword that Cypher's got? Is it a corrupted Chaos Blade? But it's the blade of the Lion, so does that mean...
The Lion got corrupted.
Does that mean he was corrupted? Is Cypher then Logar, and was Logar right all along? Not Logar.
Luther.
Luther, the other one. Is Cypher Luther? It's like all these thoughts start going through. Or is it the fact that this blade is
something that can kill a perpetual?
Yeah, exactly, like the spear, something that can kill a perpetual. So is he worried that he's going to use it to kill it, or is it part of the device that starts the Emperor's throne off, or what is it? But Gilliman knows what it is. And Cypher obviously knows what it is, and no one else does, because the Custodes say only he can enter, but no one tries to kill Cypher. But Gilliman has him arrested, and all the Fallen with him.
Is it for later use, though, do you think? Is he going to play that card later on?
I don't know, but Cypher escapes.
Okay.
He gets sent. He basically gets sent to a dungeon which no one can escape from ever.
Except Cypher.
And in about an hour he's escaped.
Yeah.
But there we see the final part of the book basically is Gilliman on Earth deciding to start a new crusade to retake all the lost worlds of the Imperium. Because it does mention through all this that systems keep going dark. So it's almost like a restart, if you will, back to the days of the Great Crusade, where there was only Earth. And then all the other systems are being taken over by warp storms and aliens and everything. It's kind of as systems. So the Imperium's been reduced and reduced and reduced. And you've got Macragge and you've got that empire there.
Yeah.
And you've got Terra. And you've got whatever worlds it's got left that have been reduced. But this is like the last part of the book where he's regrouped the Imperium, ready to strike back out. And he's started a new shipbuilding program, new armies are being made.
What's he done with the Lords of Terror?
Oh, he sacked them, most of them. The ones that he didn't like, he got rid of, basically.
HP-45.
He basically said to the Lords of Terror, you've not run this place, right? Get lost. So, I don't know whether he had some of them executed or not. But I would have done.
Well, considering of what they've turned Earth into, I can understand why he's a bit...
Originally he had a seat on the Lords of Terror. So he takes that seat back and then he replaces the people he doesn't like with people who can do the job.
Yeah, okay.
That's basically what he said he does.
Fair enough.
So the Imperium's set up not to have sort of an end times and the end of it, but actually to have a resurgence back against the darkness. But then, this is only the gathering storm. And we don't know what Abaddon's up to. Abaddon's on his way to Earth. There's a big fight going to happen somewhere. Belisarius at the end heads back to Mars because he's got the second part of his great work to work on. Because that was only the first.
So, if that's the first, that kind of bodes well for another Primarch to come into play.
Or something else.
Or something else entirely.
Whatever he's...
The Emperor.
Whatever the other part of this is on Mars. So it could be anything. It could literally be anything. I'm not even sure Games Workshop knows what it is. So we have some cool pictures in there. That's the main story. So story-wise, we basically have the journey from Macragge to Earth. That's it. It's just a journey. There's battles in between. But there's not as much. I'd say there's not as much overall going on as in the first two books. This wraps the first two books up and brings a Primarch back, and
is it probably
shows another Primarch getting his arse handed to him, basically.
Yeah, it's kind of like an introduction for Gilliman into the new world, if you will.
Yeah. Into
the world that it is now.
Yeah.
Forget what you know back then. This is it now.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. It's an introduction to him that it's just war after war after war and everything that's just gone to pot.
I mean, as I said, it does a very good job of Gilliman as well. I think he comes out the best in this book. You know, we're rating the models we like from the stories. If I was going to go off the stories now, I think Gilliman has the best in this book. He has the best outcome. Then the Grey Knight, because we learn a lot more about him and I like him now. And then the least Cypher, because even though Cypher's part of the triumvirate, it's like, and he fights in the battles, we still don't know any more about him other than the fact that he's got this sword of the line might not be the sword of the line, or it might be, and that means that Lionel Jones is probably corrupted, and that means
that's all we know.
We knew a bit more about the sword, and Gilliman really doesn't want that in front of
the Emperor. And
they kind of seem to know each other as well, so that does suggest that it's the original Cypher from the Heresy era. But it doesn't really take Cypher's character is the least used in this, even for a model which is obviously in the box set. He's hardly in it, but he's a cracking model, and if you want to do like a Fallen or something, it's great as well. I want to skip past the pages with the Fallen on, didn't I? Do? I thought I had. I thought I had.
Is it not on the next page? Is that?
Yes.
There you go.
So Fallen Angels. Some good examples there. So the rules. Echoes of War missions. So we have Through the Flames, which is the first part. I think it's when the triumvirate of the Imperium turns up and the Ultramarines help them out. The Battle of Gilliman Shrine, which is the biggest single piece battle. Would be a cool one to sort of create when Gilliman comes back. Crag's Honour. The Final Bridge. That, I think, is the part where they're escaping from the Blackstone. Amidst the Sea of Storms. And Cascals and War Missions to bind the storm. Binding enemies across the planet. That looks interesting. I've read that bit. The Vagaries of the Warp. Cataclysms of War, Sanctuary from the Storm. So there's a bunch of Echoes of War missions. Oh, really cool. So, the data sheets, formations, demonic adversaries, forces of the Ultramarines, relics of Ultramar. That's telling us what's in the book. Fallen Angels. Cypher and the Fallen are a faction, which is shown by the icon below. Very chaosy. There's kind of sort of hint that he is chaos. And all the hints that Cypher's actually a good guy, kind of sort of, you're not sure by the end of it. Not really from anything he's done, because he's not brought promises, it's Gilliman's brought the promise. So obviously he's not going to trust Gilliman anymore. So the Fallen Angels faction has the Fallen Levels of Alliance, Battle Brothers with Armies of the Imperium, except Dark Angels and Chaos Space Marines. So neither Cypher nor the Fallen may be included in an army that includes any models from the Dark Angels faction. Not fielded as part of the Fallen Champions formation, Cypher can be selected as part of the primary detachment of any of the armies of the Imperium or primary detachments with the Chaos Space Marines faction. Cypher does not take up any slots from the detachment's force organisation chart. And there is Cypher. We won't read the rules for Cypher because we did previously.
We did.
Same with the rest of the triumvirate, really. We've got some Fallen, which is basically Dark Angels, with all the options there, which is pretty cool because you can build some cool looking Dark Angels. I love the fact there's like one with red.
Yeah, that was pretty funky.
They're obviously from different successor chapters and everything. I like that. But their formation, which is the Fallen Champions, is Cypher and 1 to 3 units of Fallen. Fallen leader, any use of formation that is within 12 inches of Cypher and has They Shall Know No Fear and the Stubborn Special Rule. Grandmaster Voldus, the Bulk Walk of Purity, which is, if you can read that.
A Librarian, 2 units of Paladins and 2 units of Grey Knight Terminators. And restrictions, the Librarian must have the Grey Knights faction and Terminator armour. No unit in this formation can take a dedicated transport. You have bulwark formation. While 3 or more units from this formation are on the battlefield, you can add 1 to the result when making Deny the Witch tests. An Aura of Purity. While 3 or more units from this formation are on the battlefield, if any unit from this formation successfully manifests the banishment psychic power, all units with the demon special rule within 12 inches of any unit from this formation are affected.
Whoa! Bye demons. And then we have a Grey Knight's Appendix. And then Demonic Incursions. Reboot. Triumvirate of the Primarch, which is Cypher, the Grandmaster Voldus, and Reboot Gilliman, with no restrictions. Touched by Fate, you can reroll 1 failed saving throw for each turn for each model from this formation. Inspiring Presence, whilst the Grandmaster Voldus and Reboot Gilliman are on this battlefield. All friendly units within the armies of the Imperium faction have a stubborn special rule. And we have the Victrix Guard.
Victrix Guard. So the formation is Captain Sicarius,
Yeah.
1 unit of Honour Guard, 4 units of Stern Guard veterans or Vanguard veterans in any combination. Restrictions: no unit in this formation may take a dedicated transport or begin the battle embarked in a transport. Special rules: fight like demigods. Add 1 to the weapon skill and ballistic skill characteristics of all models in this formation. And the Primarch's chosen. While the unit from this formation is within 3 inches of Reboot Gilliman, he can make lookout Sir rolls as if he was part of that unit.
Forces of the Ultramarines. And we have Relics Ultramar. We got
You've got Terentian Cloak, that's 35 points. The Bearer has Eternal Warrior and It Will Not Die special rules. The Helm of Censure, 30 points. The wearer of the Helm of Censure has the Preferred Enemy special rule. Against Chaos Space Marines, he re-rolls all failed to hit and to wound rolls.
Cool.
The Santic Halo, 15 points. Space Marine Captain only. The bearer of the Santic Halo has the Adamantium Will and Feel No Pain special rules. Soldier's Blade, 20 points. Replaces a melee weapon, so range dash, strength user, AP2 and type melee. The Standard of Macragge Inviolate, 60 points. Friendly Ultramarine units within 12 inches of the bearer of this standard add 1 to their leadership characteristic. In addition, the bearer and his units have +1 attack while the bearer is alive. Finally, roll a dice for each time a friendly Ultramarine infantry model is killed within 6 inches of this standard before removing the model as a casualty. On a 5+, that Space Marine can make an out-of-sequence shooting attack as if it is the movement, psychic or shooting phase, or pile in and make its attacks as if it's in the fight sub-phase at the normal initiative step. And you've got Vengeance of Ultramar, 20 points, replaces a ranged weapon, so it's range of 24, strength 1, AP 5, and the type is Assault 4 and Poisoned +2.
the Victrix Strike Force detachment. So, much like the previous ones that we've seen, we've got Battle Demo Company, Strike Force Ultra, Strike Force Command,
Reclusium.
Command Squad, Librarius Conclave, Victrix Guard, Armoured Task Force, 1st Company Task Force, Anti-Air Defence Force, 10th Company Task Force, Storm Wing, Suppression Force, Land Raider Spearhead, Centurion Siegebreaker Cohort. And that is basically the book. There's some good things at the end. It's a good wrap up for the story, and it's not like an ending, Earthfall and the bad one's dead. We don't know what's going on yet. Maybe that's it. Maybe they're just changing a little bit. So maybe we're going to get, so the Gathering Storm will have another trilogy of books with some more triumvirates, like Triumvirate of Chaos would be good, obviously with a new Abaddon model, or some Mortarion coming out, or Fulgrim coming out, because Fulgrim's mentioned this.
Angron coming out.
Fulgrim's not happy that
Angron.
Gilliman's come back. Angron, all those.
Yeah, that would be good to see from the other side,
think-
like you say, a
I think
triumvirate
before we
of
have like a
chaos.
final battle, maybe like an end time, we need to have a lot more models and a lot more battles and a lot more books come out.
It seems to me like the kick-starting the Imperium again, that the Imperium's been the same for so long now that it's got a bit dead in the water, if you know what I mean. Nothing's really changed. So that looks like it's going to kick-start it as opposed to destroying the entire world and doing an Age of Sigmar.
I mean, not that we know when the new edition's coming out or anything, but this sets it up perfectly.
Mm-hmm.
So I reckon there'll be one coming out, a new edition of 40k. I don't know why they're changing the rules, don't know what they're doing, but it should be good. It's nice to see a bit of evolution going on.
Yeah.
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 So there's a lot of other stuff happened this week, or last week, from Games Workshop. They've shown us the Caradan Overlords, Caladron Overlords,
Yes.
the new dwarvies.
Who someone got rather excited about and squealed.
Airships. So I'm saying airships, awesome. Although I would argue that my initial thing was, this is steampunk, yay! Because I like steampunk. I know people don't, I do. But I don't think it is steampunk. Because there's a decisive lack of cogs. And the most important thing, steam. There isn't any of that either. So it's more like etherpunk or something because they use ether to power their systems. Those massive brass ball things that are lifting those ships up are not filled with air, put it that way, filled with ether. So that's what's powering them, probably the machines, probably the dwarves. But they did actually release yesterday, well it was yesterday for me anyway, you've probably seen it a few days ago, depending on when this video goes out, they released a picture of a dwarf not wearing armour. So it was only from behind, so you didn't get to see his face, but he was wearing a pair of long johns.
Okay.
And like a massive tattoo on his back.
Oh.
And he just stood staring at the suit of armour, like almost Batman-esque. Because it was in one of those big sort of...
awesome.
Like a Batman sort of keeps his suits in.
Like a cabinet kind of
He stands there and looks at it dramatically. So this dwarf is doing a Bat Dwarf thing and standing there looking dramatically. You didn't see the dwarf's face or his beard or anything, just the back of his head. He was bald on top. And you're like, it looked like he had scars. Or maybe like things to stick tubes into on him. But that was it. So
Okay.
I really like the look of these models. It's as excited as I've been since Age of Sigmar came out. I imagine.
Well, yeah.
Because I've liked things. I like the Iron Jaws and I like the Treeman that came out, the Sildana.
Yeah, the
So there's a lot of things I've liked.
Yeah.
But it's the first time I've gone, I really must have them.
Yeah, it is actually, I must admit. It's the only one that you've actually got excited about.
I saw them like, squats, they're back! And they're not, but maybe they are, you know? Because they kind of look like squats. It wouldn't take much to convert them into a squat army, put it that way.
Exciting
And there's a lot of talk on the interwebs that basically they're going to do that. Games Workshop, like Demons. Demons are multi-game because of Warhammer or Warhammer 40,000. That they might do multi-game armies. Who knows?
Well,
Maybe they will bring
makes
the squats
sense.
back.
That'd be quite interesting.
They will be called squats, obviously, because it is a silly name.
It's called Squits.
They'll be called squats. Here it heard it first. Complete change in name. I imagine they'll be called the Demurg. But who knows? The Demurg are actually in Battlefleet Gothic, the game. So we don't know what they look like, apart from the little drawing that we've got in the Xenobiology book, which looks like a dwarf.
Okay. There you go.
So I reckon they might come back in 40k as well. I mean, literally, it's not going to take much changing. They just need to change the ships for something else. Dwarfy.
Excellent.
Or even if it's not the same models, the moulds will be that similar, it will allow them to do it.
Yeah.
Because they've got the main body of moulds that they've used to make these, then they've put the add-ons. So they'll still have the main body ones.
It'd be interesting if
So
they
it'd be
did
easy
do
to
that.
make. Yeah.
It would make sense and it would be very interesting. Cause
That's why we always get very similar models.
Yeah.
Because they use the main body moulds and then they add new bits to it.
But yeah.
So they could easily do that. So that was out. Shadow's Spire, I think it was, Warhammer Underworlds. So that came out as just an advert with nobody knowing what it is, everyone thinks it's a new Mordheim. And then we got another glimpse of that showing it was basically an arena-based game. Where they had a Stormcast Eternal stood in the front fighting some Khorne guys, so really original. We've not seen that before in Age of Sigmar. So that's what that looks like, and he says it's competitive from the start. but is it just like the Gore chosen game where it's an arena, or what is it? What are we looking at? We don't know enough about that to really judge it. I mean, my initial thought was more time, and I was like, "Yay, excited!" Because we just heard the other thing that the release should have said was Armageddon Shadow Wars.
Yeah, that we thought was like a Necromunda.
Which is Necromunda, but
it's not.
But it isn't, because it's just Necromunda rules, which are good, with some cool looking terrain, which is good, with the races from 40k, which is okay. That's not bad. It's not really what I want.
No.
I want Necromunda back with the Necromunda gangs. But it's okay, we can have a look at that. It's a bit like Kill Team, I imagine. It feels like another Kill Team game. Like, we just said Kill Team. The rules for Necromunda are good. They're solid. I like it. I've always liked Necromunda. But I wanted Necromunda with Necromunda gangs.
The scenery looks good in it.
Yeah, the scenery looks good. And the other models are just the other models. There's no new models. Maybe if it was new models, new Orcs and new Space Marine models that we hadn't seen a million times before, maybe I'd have been a bit more excited, but it's just like, Blood Angels versus Orcs.
Yeah, again...
Scouts versus normal Orcs. Great.
Yeah, again, we were talking about this and we were saying the main box set, I think you said had Space Marines and Orcs in it. We were saying that the scenery is good, so just have the scenery on its own and then the packs of the armies that you can have, so you're not tied to Space Marines and Orcs.
By the looks of it, they could have just like boxed the scenery with a rule book and then given you a discount deal to buy a box of Marines or Tau or
Tyranids or whatever.
Because those are the races.
You choose your races
rather than being
told to have. You will have Orcs and you will have.
But don't get me wrong, I love Blood Angels. I've got Blood Angels on. I love Orcs.
Not everybody does though.
But the other thing is, I've got loads of them. I've got boxes upstairs which haven't been opened. I've got Scouts sat around which have not even been stuck together. I've got Orcs sat around which have been undercoated, and I've got more Orcs than I can shake a fist at. I don't need more Orcs. I don't need more Scouts.
I think they're very tying.
I need all Orcs and Goliath.
Yeah, I find them very tying when they do stuff like this, because you think, I'm not interested in those armies, I want Tyranids or I want Tau or whatever. They'd be so much better off doing that, and then people can just pick and choose what they want. It'd be a bit more suitable to you.
It's like in a way, because the thought is if it goes big and a lot of people want it, they'll redo the Necromunda gangs, because the rules are identical and you can play Necromunda gangs versus Space Marines, but
we'll just do the
will it? Because
do the top.
I don't know how interested people are.
Favourites.
There'll be people watching this who are really up for it, really interested in it, and cool, go and buy it, and then they might make some Necromunda.
Yeah.
But I'm like, I'm not sure, because the scenery looks great. So if it's a good price, I'll buy it for the scenery and the rules, and we can pretty much already play any faction that's in that book. Already painted models.
Yeah.
Go. That's a good thing about it, actually, because there'll be very little downtime to actually play it, because we're not like building armies and painting them. Just paint the scenery and off we go. So there's a good point to that, but I'm not sure I really wanted to see another skirmish game just involving the 40k races.
Yeah.
Because I like Kill Team. It works for me. You don't need anything else. I prefer to see Necromunda be released and then this come along as an add-on to that, and it'll be like, oh cool, now we can have a few Space Marines fighting against an entire 6 gangs of gangers, because realistically a group of Space Marines is going to wipe out half the Underhive. You're not going to have...
It's going to be a bit OP,
10 humans versus 10 Space Marines, or 5 Space Marines, even 1 Space Marine could probably wipe out that entire squad in reality. You're dead. Didn't even dent me. Wants to get a lucky shot through the island or something. I don't know.
Painful.
But again, so it would seem a bit unbalanced to actually play Necromunda versus these guys. But I'd prefer them to bring Necromunda out first and then maybe experiment with this later. I hope they're not going to base their decisions on this. I hope they're going to base their decisions on just making a new Necromunda. Because the Necromunda video game's coming out.
What is that?
Yeah, I'm sort of a mixed bag at that one. I'm not like, oh, this is rubbish, and I'm not like, oh, this is brilliant. I'm sort of like, I want to see how that one goes. There's things I like and things I don't like. Shadow Spire I don't know enough about to really judge. And as far as the Overlords are concerned, I want them now. So there's a bit of a rant there about what's going on over the week. It's been a while since we put a video off, actually. So I'm going to round that up there because I'm going to rant for ages about new stuff coming out otherwise. So thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe if you stayed till the end. Well done. And hopefully we'll see you again soon, guys.
Yeah, we'll see you soon.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye for now.